Good evening. My name is Esther Park. I am the Rexford Wooden piano chair. Sorry, it's my fourth year and I'm still getting used to it. And I have the honor of introducing tonight's performer, but also I have the honor of working with him for the past 2 years. Caleb comes from Kelowna, Iowa. And he is a proud graduate of University of North Georgia, who studied with Dr. Joe Chapman, who happens to be here as a surprise guest tonight, and Dr. Sangi Lee. Here at Schwob, he is much loved, not only from our studio, but as you can see, we have non-pianists attending piano recitals, and that is a telltale sign of big heart that Caleb has and how loved he is. When you look at his program, he's wearing two hats. He is here as a pianist, but he has been taking organ lessons for the past 2 years, 2 semesters with Dr. Asuk Moon. And therefore, since this is his graduation recital, we said, why not include that effort as well? So after Prokofiev, which is his first piece, he's going to run upstairs and he will reappear up there on our beautiful organ, and the next 3 pieces will be on organ. I realize that on the program it's not really necessarily specified, so you might kind of wonder where he is. So that's where he will be, and then after a brief pause, he will come back down, wear his pianist hat again, or shoes, and finish his recital with the Chopin ballade as well as Rachmaninoff. At this time, I have some exercises for everybody to participate with me. Take out your phone and make sure that it is on vibrate, because you don't want to be that person soloing with his solo. Other than that, please sit back and enjoy, and thank you again for being here.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. It's really such a wonderful occasion for me, and I'm just happy to share it with all of you. So welcome to Legacy Hall. This is my favorite room in the school. It's just beautiful all the time. So some of you, by looking at my posters or the program in your hands, you may have noticed that I've chosen to give this master's recital a title. I'm choosing to call it Falling Stars. So it's not all the time that we title our programs, but just allow me to explain myself. I think I'll sell you by the end of the night. Where this kind of began was with the first composer on tonight's program, that's Sergei Prokofiev. Something about his music in particular has a connection with me to space. I don't remember where this started exactly, but I remember distinctly, I think it was Prokofiev's first piano concerto. I was listening to a performance, and I just thought, wow, this has such unique colors and energy, and it's so mysterious and kind of, otherworldly. And something about that just really stuck with me, and it made me think of space. But in particular, there's this quote from C.S. Lewis's first book of his space trilogy, that's Out of the Silent Planet, that this reminds me of very much. So that quote is, "He had read of space. At the back of his thinking for years had lurked the dismal fancy of the black, cold vacuity, the utter deadness, which was supposed to separate the worlds. He had not known how much it affected him till now that the very name space seemed a blasphemous libel for this empyrean ocean of radiance in which they swam. He could not call it dead. He felt life pouring into him from every moment. How indeed should it be otherwise, since out of this ocean all the worlds and all their life had come? He had thought it barren. He now saw that it was the womb of worlds, whose blazing and innumerable offspring looked down nightly, even upon the earth with so many eyes. And here, with how many more? No, space was the wrong name. Older thinkers had been wiser when they made it simply the heavens which declared the glory. So, while Prokofiev's music, and especially the sonata you're about to hear, depicts space for me, I think that this quote can be taken a little bit further and in a slightly different light. Excuse me while I kind of stack metaphors a little bit here, but that description of space, I think it feels very indicative of how even classical music is understood. If you replace every time space is talked about in this quote with something like historical music, you can really take a lot out of that. In other words, when people are trying to approach or understand historical classical music, it's oftentimes treated with this notion of deadness, dustiness, antiquity. But in reality, old music not only contains, but is continuously imbued with new life and energy every time it's performed or listened to. I mean, music is just sound traveling through air. It's something that's present, it's not something that can ever get dusty. And so the music that you'll hear tonight, of course, it's filled with emotions that will feel fresh and colors that might seem totally new and ideas that you've never heard before. And all of these things are betrayed by that dusty label that history would prefer to create for it. And this leads me to our first piece. This is Prokofiev's ninth and final piano sonata. It was composed in 1947, only 6 years before his passing. If anybody knows anything about being a Soviet composer during this time, it was not a simple task. There was a lot of government censorship and all sorts of complications. It was a dark time. And I think that you can hear a lot of this pensiveness that comes through in the piece. Though it is like one of these mid-20th century pieces, it is chock full of bright and very modern ideas. Before I had heard this piece, I had really never heard anything like it. I find it balances a sort of beguiling charm and really a melancholy within, and it's filled to the brim with unique characters. And when I say characters, I mean most music that we listen to, we kind of expect to fall into a couple of boxes. Either it's exultant, super happy, celebratory, dancing kind of music, or it's something a lot more emotional or depressing or sad, for singing and for lamenting and all this kind of thing. But if we look around us in our life, there's all sorts of emotions that we see, all sorts of characters in our lives, all sorts of people. People can be mischievous or aloof or humorous or pensive or anxious or whatever it is. One thing that humans always are is interesting. And I think that Prokofiev captures this just perfectly in his music. If nothing else, it is chock full of bright ideas. So I've been talking plenty, but before I move on to the piece, just one thing you might be interested to know about the form. In this piece, there's 4 movements, and at the end of every movement, the movement to come is referenced. So it's almost like it gives you a sneak peek with what you're about to hear. So please enjoy Prokofiev's Sonata Number 9 in C major, Opus 103. Thank you so much. I love that piece. I hope you can learn to love it too. So, I've begun tonight to draw a comparison between this notion of music flowing through history into this present moment with stars falling from heaven into our earth. What better way to paint this image than to play music from the most beautiful instrument standing right behind me? The architecture of this hall allows the sound produced by the organ to, quite literally fall onto the audience. I really think the acoustics are incredible. I've just had such a great time learning to play this organ, and it's a new joy in my life. So I'll be playing 3 organ works for you today. Right away I'll say, for the sake of time, it might be best to save our applause for the end of the last organ piece. But it's no coincidence that out of the 3 pieces, the one by Johann Sebastian Bach sits at the center. In a sense, Bach sits at the center of our entire Western art music tradition, and he was easily the most famous organist in history. Bach has been famously described as an astronomer, discovering the most marvelous stars. To me, his music is almost like the periodic table of elements. When you're listening to it, there's something that's so essential and yet organic about all of the notes that you're hearing. Everything fits together, and he's an absolute master of turning things inside out and upside down, and yet everything still works. So there's Bach in the middle, and before him is Pachelbel, one of Bach's influences. Many of you have heard of Pachelbel because you've heard of Canon in D. If you know, you know. I won't play it for you. And then after Bach is Lemmens, who reportedly is a student of a student of a student of a student of Bach. Don't fact check me. I hope you enjoy. But one more thing, I do have to change my shoes backstage, so please don't leave while I'm doing that. I'll be right back. Thank you. something about Bach being referred to as an astronomer. Interestingly, that description actually comes directly from the mouth of Frédéric Chopin. More specifically, Chopin said that Bach is an astronomer, discovering the most marvelous stars. Beethoven challenges the universe. I only try to express the soul and the heart of man. Accounts from Chopin's students say that they never saw him practice his own music, but instead, before his recitals, he would just be holed up somewhere playing Bach. And I'll be upfront in saying that Chopin is my favorite composer. And the reason for that is that his style of writing, it just always sings. There's something that's always personal about it. And I think it's for that reason that his music is so universal. I mean, it's the most cliche thing for a pianist to say that Chopin is their favorite. I've been trying to get away from that for a long time, but I'd be lying to myself. He only wrote for piano, but he's still one of the most recognized composers today. And I would argue that his style of writing has pervaded music all the way up until this point. So Chopin wrote 4 ballades, or ballads, and each simply tells a story with music alone. They don't follow like a particular form necessarily, although for those that are interested, his 4th is some kind of like sonata form, theme and variations, composite thing. But anyway, that's for the nerds in the room. His compositional technique and theory is always just spot on. It's spectacular. It's really perfect. But what I love about Chopin is that it takes a backseat in favor of emotional immediacy. So it's not like him showing off, oh, look how smart I am. It's instead him really telling a story, and his heart is on his sleeve, and he's got the smarts to back it up. So I hope that you please enjoy Chopin's Ballade number 4 in F minor, opus 52. Thank you so much. To me, I think that that piece ends in death. And for Chopin, death came much, much too early. Of all the great artists who passed young, honestly, Chopin pains me the most. He died at the age of 39 to tuberculosis in the year of 1849. And I just can't help but wonder what kinds of things he would have written in later years. I mean, the Prokofiev sonata is a late work, and it has a really special quality for it. And I think it's such a shame that Chopin never gets that. However, Chopin's sole dedication to the piano spawned a whole bunch of other great composer-pianists in the same vein, after his death, of course. And that brings us to Rachmaninoff, another Russian composer. While he's arguably the last great pianist-composer of the tradition, it's also fair to say, I think, that he maybe stands the closest to Chopin as a sort of spiritual successor. And when Rachmaninoff was writing music, it was during the early 20th century, and this was a time when the entire conception of music theory had completely flipped on its head. The New Viennese school brought about what people, now refer to as atonal music, but just these ideas about music that kind of go beyond harmony. And so there was all sorts of interesting stuff going on at the time, and during this time, Rachmaninoff chose to stick to a kind of much more conventional theory, sort of in favor of that close to the heart emotional expression. He definitely shared Chopin's very moody composure, as well as just an incredible capability at the piano. So Rachmaninoff also wrote for orchestra, unlike Chopin, and especially his second and third piano concerti stand to be some of the most performed works in the entire historical piano repertoire. And today I get to play the first movement of his second. So I really hope that you enjoy this piece. It has a really interesting story behind it. If this Chopin ended in death, then this concerto begins with a sort of rebirth. Rachmaninoff, before writing it, he had premiered his first symphony, and frankly, it was just a disaster. Some of the reasons were to do with his planning, but others were just totally out of his control. It was a bad orchestra, and it just was a total flop. And so as a result, Rachmaninoff fell into a deep depressive episode. And he really believed that he might not ever make it as a composer, and he stopped most of his writing at the time. Now, during this time, thankfully for him, one of his friends, this is Nikolai Dahl, was a acclaimed neurologist as well as a violist. And Rachmaninoff started having literally daily therapy sessions for about 3 months long, and he kind of emerged victorious on the other side of it, much reconstructed, and he was feeling very motivated to begin writing again. And I think that it's poetic that the first piece that he ever wrote, and really a big piece that he premiered after this period, was the second piano concerto, and he attributed it to Dahl. And it's really a story of this kind of rebirth. And so the opening of this piece actually begins on the same chord that the last piece ended on, but this time it's signifying church bells. I really do hope that you enjoy. And coming on stage with me right now is my dear friend, Jungmin Park, and he's just an incredible pianist, and he's going to play the orchestra part for us tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, it's true on multiple levels that I wouldn't be standing here right now if not for these great pianists that I've been introducing you to tonight. I think whether or not we realize it, modern composers and listeners and performers, we look to these great stars of our past. Their ideas and their inspirations have constellated over the course of history, and they continue to shine down on us today. I only feel blessed that I could kind of catch the falling star just for a moment and share its beauty with you tonight. Thank you. I do have a few more thank yous in store. First of all, I would love to thank Dr. Park so much, just for everything. She's been a great encouragement. She's refined my technique so much. She's been there for the days that, for whatever reason, I just can't play the instrument. Thank you. And I would also like to thank Dr. Moon, my more recent professor on organ. I really mean it when I say I've just had so much fun learning the instrument. You've reminded me of how much fun it can be to learn an instrument. Next, I would like to thank, of course, Jungmin Park, who is a great friend and inspiration, and for playing for me, of course. I would like to thank the oldest of this crazy family I'm a part of, my oldest sibling, Sethi, for just an awesome recital poster design. Very, very talented. Thank you all for being here. And then, of course, truly, I would like to thank my Father God, creator of all beauty, for it's written, "Is God not high in the heavens? See the highest stars, how lofty they are." Finally, a thank you to my sweet mom and girlfriend who prepared a reception for everybody. If you'll just exit this door, go all the way around this hall, and there'll be kind of glass doors that you can go through there, and it'll be right outside. One more time, thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to me. I love you all.